Here we are in the QBO gym, and this is the place where we have numerous hands-on exercises that simulate real-life scenarios that you may encounter as a bookkeeper. Each month covers a variety of new topics and scenarios, and to make it a little bit easier for you, we break it down into 4 different sections. So if you are a bookkeeper and looking to work on your bookkeeping skills, this is the place for you. And if you want to do an entire month's worth of these all on your own, be sure to join our free 5-day bookkeeping challenge. All you need to do is click on the link in the description. But let's get into today's exercise, which is being pulled from our July Year 1 warm-ups section. At the top here is an animated video to give you an understanding of what you, the bookkeeper, will be doing for your client, Craig, this month. Below that is an interactive pre-assessment quiz that does relate to the video up above. Below that are the exercises in this section. And at the bottom here is an optional area where after you have gone through all of the exercises in this section and completed them, you will unlock some sample marketing posts that you can use on your LinkedIn to share with everyone what you have learned so far. So let's dive into today's exercise where we are going to practice adding expenses. Go ahead and click on that link to have the exercise pulled up for you. I have it over here on the right side of my screen, so let's read through the scenario. Craig left you a stack of receipts to enter for purchases he made since you last visited. Click the link beneath the animated warm-ups video on the previous page to grab a copy as you'll need it for this exercise. So if I go back to the gym here and I scroll back to the top, here is that animated video. And below that are all of these buttons. This one is the one we want, stack of receipts. Go ahead and click on that to download the PDF. And then once you do and you open it up, this is what it will look like. Now, you will need to be in the same session of the sample company that you did the previous 2 exercises in. If you have not completed those yet, go ahead and click on the link on the top right corner of your screen. That'll take you to that first exercise, complete that one and the one after that, and then come back to this one. They all build on each other, so it's really important to start with that first one. I have the sample company here on the left side of my screen. This is the last page that I left off of from the previous exercise. So let's go ahead and begin with this exercise. Now, one of the challenges of receiving receipts is knowing which account they were paid out of. If you can't tell from the receipt itself, you'll need to ask Craig. For these exercises, assume Craig used his debit card and he paid for all of them from his checking account. Also, we're not going to work with sales tax in these exercises. So let's go ahead and start with the receipt from Ellis. It looks like it says backhoe for $800. Now, even though it doesn't say Ellis equipment rental specifically, you can be reasonably sure that it's the same. It says Ellis rental, but it's the same as Ellis equipment rental. You could always, of course, ask Craig to if you needed to double check. So let's go ahead and create that expense transaction. We're going to click on the plus new button and then select expense. So in the top left corner of the screen, you will see this plus new button. Click on that. And then under vendors, go ahead and select expense. Let's go ahead and start filling it out. In the payee field, we want to select Ellis Equipment Rental. So click the down arrow and you can scroll or you can start typing in the field. Once you find their name, go ahead and select it. Now remember, he used his debit card, and so in the payment account field, we want to select checking since that's what it's linked to. So click the down arrow in payment account, go ahead and select checking. Now you will need to decide whether to add the items in the category grid or the item details grid. They will go in the item details grid if Craig wants to track how many he has on hand, which is inventory product, or how many he has purchased over time, which is non-inventory product. If so, these would be set up in products and services. If neither of these are true though, such as with this particular equipment rental, they're going to go in the category details grid. Now note that for this transaction, the category grid is already pre-filled with the data from the previous Ellis transaction. You can decide in the accountant settings whether you want QBO to automatically do this. So you can make this change in the accountant settings. You would just go back to that main screen, click on the gear icon on the top right corner of the screen, click on accountant settings, and then you can make the adjustment there. The nice thing is that you can always, if you want to, leave this on and then you can easily overwrite or delete what gets pre-filled in. And as a note here, this payment date is going to default to today. You can go ahead and leave that as is for the purposes of this exercise, but of course in real life, you want to make sure that whatever date is on the receipt is going to be matching in this payment date field. So in the description field, we're going to go ahead and delete what is currently there. So click into that and delete what's currently there. We're going to leave the category as equipment rental since it's for a backhoe, so it is probably for equipment rental. Now, Craig has not given you any details about the length of the rental, so that is why we deleted what was in that description. In the amount field, we want to type 800 to match the receipt. So click in that amount field, type 800. You can click the tab key and you will notice that QBO is updating this expense transaction amount for us. We have nothing left to do in this one. It is all complete. So we're going to click on the down arrow next to save and close and then select save and new since we have other ones to process. So click the down arrow, save and close. You want to click next to save and close and then select save and new. And now that expense has been saved and we have a brand new expense transaction ready for us to fill out. So next we will enter the Hicks hardware receipt. Here we can see it is for one shovel for $24.38. So in the payee field, let's go ahead and select Hicks hardware. Click into it. I'm going to this time type Hicks to have it show up for me. Once you find it, go ahead and select it. Now the payment account field should still say checking. Payment account field should still say checking. In case not, just go ahead and make sure that you change it. Once again, we're going to leave the payment date as is, but in real life, you want it to match whatever is here on that receipt. Now, Craig does not track individual shovels, so this would be in that category details grid, not the item details grid. And as before, QBO has already pre-filled some data from the last transaction for Hicks, so that is why it is there. But we need to change what is here in the category field this time for this receipt. So in that field, we're going to select supplies. So click into it. You can click the down arrow and you can scroll, or you can type the name in to find that expense account, that supplies account. Go ahead and click on it once you find it. In the description field, let's type shovel so we know what this is for. Go ahead and do that. In the amount field, we need to type $24.38 to match what is on the receipt. So click in that amount field, type $24.38. And now this expense transaction has been created and it's all good to go. So we're going to do the final receipt a little bit of a different way. So this time we're going to click on the down arrow next to save and new to select save and close. So click the down arrow and then select save and close. Now that expense has been saved. All right, so finally, we're going to enter the receipt for Cal's telephone. If we go back here, you can see that there is that monthly usage from Cal Telephone for $74, excuse me, and 36 cents. Now, Craig pays this bill automatically every month and has a scheduled bill transaction set up to automatically enter it into his check register. This time, however, he decided to stop by and pay early. You can easily use the previously recorded recurring transaction to add this to the register, then mark it as paid. So here's how we're going to do it. You're going to click on that gear icon and then select recurring transactions. So the gear icon on the top right corner of the screen, as I mentioned earlier about that accountant settings, that's where you would go for that. But right now we want to go look at the recurring transactions. So go ahead and select that. And you'll note that the next date shown in the grid here is likely from the past. And this is just because you're using the sample company. In a real life scenario, of course, this would be the next occurrence of the transaction in the future. So regardless, you can override the date by using the transaction now. Just know that if you're looking at this and confused, that's just why. It's just because of the sample company. So in the action column of the Cal telephone transaction, which is this top one, we're going to click on the down arrow and then select use. So click that down arrow in the action column and then select use. Now, everything here is correct. We don't need to make any changes because that is the amount that he paid, that $74.36, which is matching here as well. So we're going to click on the Save button that is down here. Go ahead and click on that. And now that bill has been saved, but now that it's been entered, we need to mark it as paid. That is the next step in the process. So we're going to click Mark as Paid, which is right here. Go ahead and click on that. And then in the bank credit account field, we want to select checking. Remember, he used his debit card. So click that down arrow, go ahead and select checking. We're going to leave everything else as is. Again, that payment date would be the day that the payment was actually made. We're going to leave it as is for the purposes of this exercise. The payment amount is matching the open balance, so everything is matching here what is on the receipt. So we are all good to go. All we need to do now is just click on that Save and Close button on the bottom right corner of the screen. Click on that. And now that bill payment has been saved, and that is it. That is how you would add expenses. Now, if you like this exercise and you'd like to do more like it, be sure to join our free 5-day bookkeeping challenge. All you need to do is click on the link in the description. We're going to continue on, so be sure to leave this session of the sample company open, as you will need it for the next exercise in the warm-up section, where we practice sending an estimate to a sub-customer. And I will see you in the next video.